Hey, what's up, everybody? Onepeg here. So we have another hotfix, Hotfix 15, that was getting pushed out today. I ended up putting out a community note, and we had a video this morning about everything. They are modifying basically that short list of stuff that I said that they were, and then some. One of the biggest things that we didn't know was coming, but is going to be hitting us, is they're removing the low-level, low-roller lobby. No more 14 and under lobbies, because let's face it, the gear being available to anyone just meant that a whole bunch of guys that should have been playing in the higher level queues were just starting over on new characters, myself included, because the fights were just a whole lot more pure. But that's not giving the devs good data. So they're removing it because they want us to all fight each other and get some actual good data about balancing, as opposed to having all of us fighting around on low-level lobbies. Anyway, on to the notes. So I've got my face here, and I know that I've got my map covered, but that doesn't really matter. I'll move my stuff out of the way as we kind of scroll down through here. Fixed an issue where Bard's war song was not applying to teammates. That was becoming Barb Bard only, and it wasn't supposed to be Bard only, so they finally fixed that, which is nice. Fixed an issue where monsters would get stuck in certain spots in the Goblin Cave and could not move. So this, there's a couple of spots in certain areas of the Goblin Cave. The pair of underground tunnel area, there was like a spiked wall or something where a couple of the patrolling guys, as soon as they aggroed, they'd get stuck trying to path past that, and they would just kind of like stand there and do nothing. That was in a few different spots. I'm glad that they're fixing that because the pathing issues are kind of everywhere and there's a lot of cheese. From here on, it looks like there's a lot of balancing changes and some modifications to weapons. Barbarian's Iron Will additional magic resistance has been changed from 100 to 60. Bard's Beats of Alacrity move speed changed from 15, 20, 25 to 5, 10, 15, so they've nerfed Alacrity again. Harmonic Shield Armor and Magic Resistance changed from 40, 40 to 15, 15. Again, they're trying to nerf the buff ball meta. Warlock's Torture Mastery Healing Attribute Ratio bonus has been changed from 50 to 25%. So Torture Mastery means that you are to heal, you're supposed to heal a base of 1 HP per tick of Curse of Pain, and then for whatever reason, the Sacrifice buff, the Strength buff, and then the HP leech that comes as a result of that also was giving us ticks of health. As a base, it is a 1 hit point per tick heal. The scaling on that was 50%. So for every +1 magical healing, you got another half a point of bonus healing. Vampiric, the Vampiric perk added a 20% increase to that. So you had a 70% modifier on your plus healing as opposed to just a 50%. Now that has been halved. So this plus Vampiric should give, I guess, a 45%. This is basically cutting the amount of bonus healing that we're getting off of magical healing gear in half, which I think is fair given how the meta goes, which also means that if you have like +4 healing, you're getting an additional like 2.5 per tick of each one of those dots, or another 5 HP per second, which isn't really all that bad because, I mean, Warlocks heal like crazy, and that should do pretty well. In addition, they also ended up nerfing Hydra in here, but we'll get to that. The Eldritch Shield magic damage absorption changed from 40 to 25. Dark magic bonus changed from 40 to 20%, and cost changed from 5 to 10. So this is a huge nerf to Eldritch Shield. The big bonus benefit to Eldritch Shield was if you had that, which is augmented again by your magical power and whatnot, using that meant that if you got hit by like a Wizard Fireball, for instance, which only does 25 damage base, meant that that would absorb a direct hit from a Fireball, and you'd be left with just a couple of damage ticks on the back end. It would eat a few magic missiles, 2 or 3 magic missiles before it would break. One of the big things that people were doing was buffing themselves against the Ghost King boss, so when he does that conic shotgun attack, it would just eat one of those shadow bolts that he casts, and you don't end up having to worry about the damage. It pretty much just negated it while the Warlock dotted it and healed up themselves in order to be able to just cast more Eldritch Shields. So increasing the cost, making it more costly, reducing the amount of damage that it absorbs, and the bonus damage as a result, so that you're not shadow bolting something for like 100 hit points, because that would happen if you were hitting him in the head if you had good magic scaling, magic damage. Those are all good things. They changed the Hydra cost from 15 to 20. So if we do the math, that means that instead of this costing 25 points of health to cast a Hydra and then double dot it to try and heal yourself, Now it is going to cost 30. So it's an additional 5 HP in cost, which puts more pressure on the Warlock to be able to utilize leeching mechanics in order to be able to heal themselves. Now, with +3, if you're using a magic staff, you double dot it and then cast Life Drain, you should still net hit points. But the catch here is that you have to stand still and channel in order to be able to do it, and it's nowhere near as abusable as it used to be. With the extra cost, it also means that the Warlock has to make sure that their hit point pool can withstand that. That's a pretty costly change. 5 HP doesn't sound like it's a lot, but it is. Warlock's Ray of Darkness, dark magic damage has been changed from 3 to 7, and the cost has been changed from 5 to 10. Ray of Darkness was absolutely awful. More than doubling the damage output of this per tick is actually kind of huge. People could start running Ray of Darkness now because of this change. And I'm very interested to see what kind of builds people will come up with when they start utilizing like Soul Harvester and stuff and then using this. Because a 30% bonus on top of the spell damage that we already get from like base kit stuff, even just base kit stuff, makes this probably 11 damage per tick. On top of which you get a 30% bonus. So you could start seeing like 15 damage per second coming out of Ray of Darkness, not as a head hit. It could end up being a pretty good chase mechanic, although I'm going to question whether or not it will be viable in team play. I don't really know. I think this might be more of like a be able to still move while DPSing a boss kind of mechanic. Warmaul's armor penetration has been changed from 30 to 20%. So this is also a good thing. Again, trying to nerf Barbs a little bit. Chris Dagger's animation has been modified. The primary modifier for many items have been adjusted. Primary modifier, okay? So the primary modifier is the white text. So if we look at Dark and Darker, which I have right here, primary modifier is where the Warden outfit on here says 1 agility. That is what's called a primary modifier. The secondary modifiers are like green items that have, or blue items where you see the additional affixes. Those are secondary modifiers or random modifiers. But the primary modifier being adjusted is them also modifying the base armor rating. Primary modifiers are also armor rating and magical damage or magical resistance. Those kinds of things are also primary modifiers. So those being reshuffled again means that the meta is likely going to shift because of bonus armor and bonus magical resistance. We'll have to see where those things end up panning out. My guess is on the Barbarian side of things, stuff like Northern Tunic will probably end up having its magical resistance nerfed pretty significantly, and there's going to be some armor adjusting on like Barb-specific items. Probably also we'll see some modifiers to things like Knowledge or maybe even run speed for Occultist Boots or something like that, but I doubt it. We'll just have to see what it looks like. Random modifiers for items have all been adjusted, so this is likely got something to do with all the plus damage, plus all. I'm going to guess is where the primary changes on this is in plus damage stuff and plus all, but we'll see. All legacy items are now gone. As promised in the next hotfix, as SDF said, they're going to be removing legacy items. Options that are removed or have had their min-max values changed will be re-rolled or rescaled to accommodate the new data. So really, really good change. I don't think there's anybody that wants to see legacy items sticking around. This is an important one. It levels the playing field for everyone, gives everybody an opportunity to be able to be competitive. Fountain of Speed's additional move speed changed from 70 to 50. SDF in the past said in one of the Q&As that the Fountain of Speed was a little bit too high for run speed benefit and bonuses, and this, I guess, is a change that makes sense. All right, let me move my shelf up to the top here. Merchants no longer sell as many uncommon, green, and rare blue items as before, so they've now shifted the gear finding. Instead of being able to buy them for cheap off of the vendor, the idea is that it's going to be shifted into the dungeon, and now you can get it for free by just running around the dungeon and looting it. So this is another interesting change. So we'll have to see how the player base reacts to this. Instead of having merchant items in abundance, you have to get in the dungeon, right? So go in the dungeon. Go enjoy the dungeon. Everybody go to the dungeon. You can no longer preview random modifiers from Jack-o'-lantern's merchandise. That is incredibly interesting that they're changing this to a more Gamba-style mechanic. And I'll be interested to see where the price is, because right now candy corn is like 10 or 15 gold or something per candy corn. And then people are buying whatever items they find on it, as long as they were rolled okay. Now making it more of a Gamba mechanic, there'll be an item that'll be 80 candy corn, and then right next to it, there'll be an item that's 25, and it'll be exactly the same, aside from the fact that some of them are just better statted out. I think that the move would be to just buy the cheaper candy corn items and see what you get. But this being changed to a random modifier is interesting. Like that's the trick on the treat. Kind of cool. Matchmaking below level 14, as I said at the very beginning of the video, has now been removed. So that is the biggest modification, and I think the reason why is because they're trying to get adequate and accurate testing. It makes sense, especially, again, if the idea is they're trying to provide gear to everyone in abundance, getting in there and just running it makes sense. I actually prefer that they keep everything in the same pool. A lot of people with experience, myself included, were running the lower level lobbies just for the sake of running them because it felt more pure. It was a way for us to be able to have engaging PvP with people where they weren't able to just get to the market and buy whatever they wanted. But now again, we're all being consolidated up. So if the gear in the dungeons is in more abundance, perhaps that will be the solution. We'll have to see what happens. And now we have a message from the developer. We want to thank our fans for your extreme patience as we experimented with drastic balance changes during the last week. We've had a lot of internal discussions recently and realized we made a mistake by acting too hastily with Hotfix 14. We want to apologize to everyone for the hasty decisions. We've decided to stick to our original plan of starting low and slowly building up. The new hotfix introduces more targeted random modifiers that we believe still allow players a starting point build to build their characters while we work on addressing major imbalances and implementing more viable builds. We still share concerns that the flatter gear may make it less motivating to find the best gear, and we will continue to actively work on this issue. Previous items with random modifiers will automatically be adjusted with the new values. Since we now feel more comfortable with the balance and gear gap, we have decided to try and remove under 15 matching pool to collect data while we work on an improved matchmaking system. We also learned a lot about reducing the stress of gearing for a new adventurer with the new merchants. We like the overall effects of having a large amount of gear readily available to the players. However, the one side effect of having merchants selling so many high-quality items was less motivation to loot for gear from the dungeons. In order to incentivize players to hunt the dungeons, we've decided to reduce the number of items directly available from the merchants, but have dramatically improved the amount of quality and quantity of loot from the chests in the dungeons. Sorry, improve the amount and quality of loot from the chests in the dungeons. Sorry about that. The quality of the loot has been increased even more significantly for the high roller dungeons, with the high-end chests now giving a chance for legendary loot. So that was not something that was available before. Legendary and better was only available off of the end bosses and sometimes rarely on mini bosses. We encourage players to try for themselves and let us know if you think we are getting closer to finding the sweet spot. We've learned a tremendous amount this past week and we hope to learn even more with your help. Thank you for your continued support through the turbulence of early access. We hope to see you in the dungeons. So again, I think that this is a move in the right direction. And I genuinely think that the devs have a good set of have a good head on their shoulders. I like the way that SDF thinks. I like the way that Terry thinks. I think these guys are absolutely moving in the right direction, and they're taking our feedback to heart. You can tell that they are with the stuff that's been given to them. Hopefully, in the next patch, we'll see them fix the Warlord, because right now Warlord is bugged. I sent a clip off to SDF. There's a problem where at some point during the course of the fight, at least one person in the fight, about 2 minutes in, starts getting infinitely caged by his caging mechanic. Even if you're not standing in the pizza slices, even as goes so far as like if you clear aggro and then run out and run back in, even if one of the people is dead, the person that was getting infinitely caged just keeps getting caged even on their corpse. It's just crazy. But yeah, this patch is a W, I think, overall. I honestly am interested to see what the primary modifier changes are, especially for Barbarian. No offense to any of the Barbs out there, but y'all had your time and y'all got like buffed to the stratosphere, and we need to slow that down a little bit. Okay, Barbs had their time to shine. They got to chill out, and we got to bring that a little bit more in line with giving everybody else a chance to get some gear too. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm interested to see how this looks. I will be obviously in the dungeon early in the morning tomorrow. I'll probably check out the patch tonight off stream. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for coming and checking out the video. It really, really does matter if you sub the channel. I really would appreciate it if you would do that. Otherwise, come check me out on Twitch in the morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, boys? Thanks so much. Peace.